A newly born baby is appropriately considered a newborn and is typically referred to as a newborn for the first 28 days of life, though some say longer. When no longer a newborn, the baby continues in infancy more generally. An infant later becomes a toddler. Childhood is next. The awkwardness of adolescence is after that. Then comes the longed-for adulthood in 3 phases: early, middle, and late. What's interesting is, though we indeed need to grow up, we actually need to become more like little children the more we grow, if we want to live in heaven, that is. Of course, becoming more like little children doesn't mean becoming more childish, but childlike, as in innocent and trusting. From the book Testimonies for the Church, Volume 3, said Christ to his disciples, "Unless ye be converted and become as this little child, ye cannot enter the kingdom of heaven." He explained his meaning to them. He did not wish them to become children in understanding, but in malice. Little children do not manifest feelings of superiority and aristocracy. They are simple and natural in their appearance. Christ would have his followers cultivate unaffected manners, that their whole bearing might be humble and Christ-like. Despite some growing pains between our first and last breath, it can truly be an enjoyable process, living the life cycle from birth to death. Ooh, the D word was in there. Death. Whenever we imagine the timeline of life, we usually do not wish to include death. But death is part of life. I didn't understand that as a child, but as an adult, it's clear to see that we experience a little taste of death each time that we enter the next phase of human life. Similar to our bidding farewell to an old year upon entering the new, and much like turning the page of one chapter of a book to start the next, we naturally release the previous phases of life. Whether we're looking forward to the next phase or dreading it, the current one needs to end so the next one can come. We have to let go to grow. Since we're so used to dying for the sake of growing, why do we cringe when asked to die to self? Maybe it's because we don't think there's anything wrong with ourselves? Like no sin to die to? Self-righteousness is a sin in itself. Such arrogance and pride will never again reside in heaven. So we must let go. Those who prefer to cling to their selfish, prideful selves won't make it to heaven. If caterpillars would cling to their larval stage, they would never fly. And we would never see butterflies. Just like the caterpillar being willing to give up his wormy life to be free, so must we. We thus become new creatures in Christ. And if in this life we do experience a literal physical death, it's not the end. It's merely sleep until awakened. John 5:28-29 brings us confirmation. The hour is coming in the which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. Of course, the hour that is coming is Jesus Christ's second coming, and the lovely voice we'll hear will be his. Many voices and visions will try to deceive us with a false second coming. So we must be fully listening to Christ's voice now in order to fully recognize it then. And we must be ready to look up and never look back by then. Like each caterpillar that's longing to fly, we too can be fit to fly the heavenly by finally letting go of the earthly, including letting go of self.